do have things to say. Which is just poor writing. It was a strange episode. Love romance. What is this? That was an episode that happened. There was no conclusion because there was nothing to conclude. Hi guys, welcome back to another Nerd Rants video. I apologize for missing last week. It's been kind of a weird, crazy month. It's just, ugh. It's my husband's senior year in college, and so it was his last semester, and so there's all kinds of things going on for him, and then it was Valentine's Day and stuff at work and all that. It's just been kind of a crazy month, and I didn't get anything recorded on Saturday because I babysat one of the girls from work from 7:30 in the morning until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then had to come home and do stuff. So I really just didn't have a spare moment to record anything last week. But we're back, and it actually timed out pretty well because now I can talk about Leverage Redemption. I know I mentioned in my live stream 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, 3 weeks ago, I don't actually remember. But I mentioned that I probably wouldn't necessarily do a video on it because there's just, you know, not a whole lot to discuss. Like it's not bad, but it's not as good as the OG series. Well, we've gotten done with it now, and I do have things to say. I do actually have things to say. So at the time I was recording my live stream or whatever, we were in like season 2, I think. And honestly, I enjoyed the first season and how they focused on Harry and how they, you know, were going up against his different clients, and how he was we kind of got a little bit of development from him and his drive to redeem himself after what he's done as a crooked lawyer. And that was kind of interesting. I enjoyed that. I liked Harry as a character. It was not on par with probably the original series with like writing and characters and that kind of thing. And the found family vibe is not as strong with this one. But I really enjoyed Harry's character. And it was interesting to jump into this with Sophie's grief and that kind of thing. So there was some development in the first season, and then we get to the second season, and it's not as good as the first season, and it's more disjointed. And they decided they weren't going to introduce like the main plot that was happening until the like third to last episode, and so then they only had 2 episodes to round it out and deal with all the things that they just introduced literally at the end of the season. So it's like they had half the season episode, they had half the number of episodes, but still decided to reveal the overarching plot of the season at the same point. And so they just had no time to properly resolve any of it, which is just poor writing. And then we had season 3, 10 episodes long. It got canceled. I did look that up. There was no direction in this episode. I don't know where they were going with it. If it was the same length as the second season, they would have had only like 2 or 3 more episodes to add on, and that would not be enough to create a main storyline and resolve it in, as proven in season 2, with a very lackluster and rushed finale in that season. And so we have season 3 just bombing so hard. I don't know what their goal was with it. They didn't really have a focus going on. The writing kind of tanked, and for the 4 of the 5 last episodes, they focused solely on a romantic relationship of some kind. Like one was I don't even remember what it was. Oh yeah, the first one was a con man that used romance, and so he just went out and dated a bunch of people and then used them to get money. So they had him. That was really poorly written, and they made the whole thing center around Harry being the inside man, which is just... It was a strange episode, and it had no real goal, and they didn't really... It felt like nothing was achieved except revealing to the one gay guy that he wasn't a good person. I don't know. It was really weird. And then we had the Hallmark movie of an episode where they get stuck in a small town and have to like they have to stage a coup essentially to get the mayor out of play because he's just raking in money from unjust accusations to all the people in the town and treats everyone like crap. And so they then have to take his power and take over the town so that they can have someone who actually cares and will run the town well. But that focused a lot on Sophie's romance, and a whole side plot was that she falls for one of the guys in town who does like 5 different things in town. It was straight up a Hallmark movie. And then we had an episode that had potential, but because of the 2 episodes that preceded it, it didn't come off great. Because again, it centered around a love story. And so we have Harley come back. We love Harley. He's great. I like Harley's character. Anyway, Harley blames himself for one of the marks on his teams getting himself killed. Like runs out into traffic, gets killed, and Harley blamed himself for this. So he comes back to the main team's HQ, gets found by that team's mark, and gets roped into this con where he's trying to help them take him down by gaining his trust, and then realizes, oh no, he's doing all these shady things out of nowhere to help his love interest. And so then their end goal is to get them together, essentially. And so the way the episode plays out, that was a very corny way of explaining it, but the way the episode plays out, it's not bad. It's have a more interesting concept than the last 2 episodes, but it just gets totally ruined by the fact that the 2 episodes came before it. My husband, we decided we were gonna not finish it. We got to the end of that episode. 3 episodes of just love, romance is the entire focus. We got to the end of that, and we're the writing's bad. And we decided he couldn't do it anymore. I'm yeah, no, we don't have to watch this anymore together. That's fine. There's 2 episodes left, you're fine. And then he was at youth group on Wednesday, and so I decided to finish it because there were 2 episodes left, and I don't like leaving things unfinished. Very rarely can I stop watching something. I finished She-Hulk. That was to see how bad it could get. But anyway, I was there are 2 episodes left. I don't really want to leave this unfinished. I want to have complete thoughts when I go into this review video. Or reaction, more let's be real. My videos are more of a reaction than a formulated review. Anyway, so I decided to watch the last 2 episodes by myself so that he didn't have to endure them. But I could still have my rounded out thoughts. So, the episode right after this, just train wreck of 3 romance episodes, we have them taking down a polygamous cult-like relationship. It was probably, in my opinion, the worst episode in the entire Redemption series. What is this? Why are they in a polygamous relationship? Why does that matter? And they take them down by creating a horror film essentially that they're playing out, which is just okay. It was so meh, and I just, as much as homosexual relationships kind of make me cringe, polygamous relationships are worse. Like, how they're portrayed, and whenever they come into a series, it is worse. I cringe so much harder, and it's so wrong. So anyway, there's that. That was an episode that happened. And then they ended it on not as bad of a note. Like, it was at peak writing, but it wasn't horrible. Like, it wasn't a finale, and by any stretch of the imagination. There was no conclusion because there was nothing to conclude in this season. But it wasn't bad. I think they were trying to give Parker some development, because no one's really had any since season 1 of this series. So I think they were trying to give her some development, which kind of sort of worked. Anyway, she took up a con on her own, ends up roping the others into it just because she needs the extra help. But in the end, in the long run, like, she's taking this on alone. And the cinematography is interesting because the parts where she's with the team and planning with the team are in color, and then because it's like a noir themed episode, all of the parts where she's actually conning the mark are in black and white, which was an interesting like visual signal when we were switching between like the storylines or whatever of the episode. But it's also a little interesting. I'm not entirely sure if I liked it or not. But the episode itself wasn't super poorly written. It was kind of interesting to see it play out and have Parker being like, I'm not good at lying, so I just have to fully embrace his character. And so I'm going to threaten to kill this guy, even though I know I'm not actually going to kill him. But I have to fully commit to this character. And so everybody thinks she's going to kill him. And then, gets him to run and flee into a country with non-valid papers and whatever else to feel what his employees feel, because he is mastermind of like a child labor facility, and he takes advantage of immigrant families for that. And so she ends with just like, no, my version of justice is you feel exactly how all of your employees have felt. You are in a country with no resources, no real identity here, no resources, no papers, and the cops are after you. Peace out. And so it was probably one of the better written episodes in the 3rd season. But yeah, that's how we ended season 3, with 4 crap written episodes, not that many good ones before it, and a mediocre one that wasn't a finale to end it. So it was just a strange, and I can't even blame Amazon for like taking over and ruining it, because the first 2 seasons weren't the greatest either. They're kind of mid as far as the writing for this show goes. And the characters were mid. Like, I watched it mostly for Harry. Let's be real. I liked watching Noah as a kind of goofy lawyer. It was fun. There was one episode where Sam Witwer shows up, just out of the blue. Like, what the heck is Sam Witwer doing here? It's like 2025. Did he have spare time? Like, why is he here? And he plays a guy who cons people into cryo-freezing themselves at the moment of death, in the hopes that, hey, we'll wake you up when there's a cure for whatever you have, but they're dead. And then after a certain amount of time, he like finds the family out of all their assets and then sells bodies for parts. So he's awful. But just randomly Sam Witwer shows up, and then Harry gets to pull psychotic future scientist man as his grift. I saw this scene before we got to this point in the series, but I enjoyed him just being this complete psycho who is like, I don't know. I enjoyed his role in that episode, like his grifting character. It was kind of... But yeah, I don't know, like, I think that's the only truly enjoyable part of, like, the only truly enjoyable episode that I had in the entirety of season 3 was that episode, because Sam Witwer shows up out of nowhere, and I like the grift character for Harry. One of my favorite episodes, though, it was in season 2. I don't remember what the episode is called. But anyway, it's the team plays a very minor role, like they're very much background characters. So it's like the music record company, whatever. They go out, they find artists, and then yeah, so a record company or whatever. And there's the boss is a sexual abuser of his assistants, usually. Anyway, so the team tries to get in, except one of the candidates jumps the line and convinces them to hire her instead. And so then instead of following the team, we're pretty much just following this new assistant, as she discovers what's going on, very quickly discovers what's going on because she's not stupid. And like the team is helping her along the way. And then she meets up with the IT guy who becomes like her hacker essentially. And so then they're trying to work together without being found out by her boss and find enough evidence to expose her boss for sexual abuse. I like that episode. It's really fun because we have these new characters, so it's a fresh perspective and different takes and whatever else on this case, and they're doing it with different resources, because they are not at the same level as the others, as the main team, but we see them doing this and we see the team helping them out throughout, and things kind of get handed to them a little bit. But I don't know, it was a really fun episode to see it from like the other side of the story, essentially, the other perspective. But yeah, I enjoyed that episode. That was a fun episode. Beyond that, none of the other ones really stick out to me. They're just kind of existing. Not the most enjoyable show I've ever watched. Very much inferior to the OG series. The OG series we love, and I think losing Nate was made a huge difference in redemption. Nate was not there, and he was the mastermind. He was the one that could, whenever a wrench was thrown in the plan, he'd go so 180 that you wouldn't know what's coming. And it was just like, it was more fun when Nate was involved. I feel like everything worked out so smoothly in every single episode of this, and there wasn't a whole lot of times that they had to pivot to a different plan. It was like, oh no, something happened and that wasn't supposed to, but then we get to the end of the episode and it's like, oh no, it kind of was supposed to happen. So yeah, it was just dull. I felt like it was a rinse and repeat every single episode. It just worked on pretty much the first try, instead of having things go really wrong. Like, oh gosh, Nate's dad just got blown up. Like, we don't have, I don't know. I feel like Nate was kind of the heart of the show in the original series. And so losing him in redemption took a lot of the heart out of the series. So yeah, we miss Nate. I think that's the biggest issue, is that Nate is gone, and it's, I'm sure, different writers and people in charge and whatever else, and they care more about sending a message about society based on whatever issue they're covering in this, instead of writing a good story. So instead of like writing the characters well and writing the plan in a way that you're guessing with the twists and turns or whatever else, they're just like, this thing that's happening in society that we have a political opinion about, let's just do that. And they have to help this person, or they have to stop this person, and that's the episode, and it just works, and it's just not entertaining because we're not guessing, and there's not like there's not a whole lot of I take this issue personally things. The episodes, I think the closest we get is when Harry's mom gets conned, and that's about the closest emotionally that someone gets to a case in this entire series. Whereas in the OG series, I think there's an episode for each one of them where it's like, this is something this character really cares about. And so they get emotionally attached to this case, and that in itself causes problems. So we didn't have a whole lot of that. Like, Brianna doesn't get emotionally attached to a case, and none of the other ones have another case like that, except unless we count Elliot having to help his dad and that reunification, which meh. Honestly, that whole thing was a little bit meh to me. Not one of the worst episodes in the series, but it was just it was too lackluster for the reunion of Elliot and his dad. I would have preferred a better written episode for that. But anyway, I don't dislike the fact that Sophie has a stepdaughter. I think with all of the different roles she's played and whatever else, that totally makes sense. But I don't think, so in season 2 when they, bring that up and they introduce it and this idea of it, but they don't give enough time to, they don't build up to it. They just reveal the entirety of the season 2 plot and arc and all of that in one episode that doesn't feel like it's intrinsic to the plot of the season. And they just reveal everything, like the big bad and Sophie's daughter, and pretty much dump her entire past in that episode. Everything we need to know in season 2 happens in the last 10 minutes of that episode. And then we have 2 more episodes to initiate, go through, and resolve all of these things we just revealed. And that's not enough time. If you had revealed, hey, 1 or 2 of these things throughout the season, we revealed that Ramsay was a person, but we didn't know he was the big bad until the episode where they revealed everything else. And so revealing these different things, having Ramsay involved in more of the job, so we see, he's orchestrating more of this stuff, have more people from Sophie's past show up, whether they, are friends or enemies, and just build that up more so that him being the big bad isn't this, last minute thing, we need a big bad, we only have 2 episodes left in the series, in the season, drop that. We could drop the idea that she has a daughter in maybe a little bit earlier than right before the finale episodes. But there was not enough time to explore Sophie's past and Sophie's daughter. It's they didn't give enough time to explore the things that they were trying to bring into and focus on in that season, which is the biggest issue, was the time constraint that they put on themselves. They spent so much time doing all these random jobs that they didn't leave themselves any time to do the main plot. And they probably could have done that main plot pretty well if they had spaced things out and actually had a plan and a direction for the season, but they didn't. They filled it with filler stuff and then had like 4 episodes that actually gave you any information about the main plot. So that was just disappointing. I think it would have been fun to explore Sophie's past more, because she's a grifter. Like, she has affected so many lives, and there's bound to be people who worked with her or recognize her or something or other. And so having a season where we kind of focus on her past is not a bad idea, but they did it very poorly. And so that was unfortunate. Yeah, I feel like I don't have a whole lot of positive things. Like, I didn't really care for Brianna. Like, Hardison was never my favorite character in the original series either, but Brianna's just even less of a character. She's very two-dimensional. Like, what you see of her in, like, the first few episodes she shows up in is her character. Like, she's lesbian. Knew that from Trick. Like, I tracked that from pretty much the first time she showed up. Like, if any of these guys are going to be homo, it's going to be her. Yeah. And Harry has a little bit of character development, but once we hit season 2, he doesn't really have any more. None of the other characters from the original series really have any development because we did that in the first series. They don't need more. People like these characters. They can just stay the same. It's like, no, we like who these characters become throughout this series. It's like, what is a logical way to continue growing their characters? Like, they had a little bit with Sophie getting over her grief, but then once that was done, like, where was the character development? And in the 3rd season, when she's out just looking for love, like, what was that? I feel like based on Sophie's character throughout the original series, I don't think she would have moved on from Nate. Like, she doesn't really have a true romance outside of Nate. And so her trying to move on and implying that she did in the 3rd season, no bueno. No bueno. I know it's been a few years since Nate died, but no bueno. I don't think she would. And especially going for the guy that she goes for. Like, that's not at all so. I get she's older and, like, maybe she wants to settle down, but, like, dude, I don't think it would be a thing. Not given the character that they created in the original series, and the way you portrayed her in that same way throughout this series, she wouldn't. I don't think she would. I don't know why we had to focus on it so much. It was not a major thing in the plot. It didn't have to be a major thing in the plot. She's just existing. She's learning to be her own person again, and how she fits into all of this after so long. I like explore how she struggles with coming back maybe to a life of crime after retiring and being just happy and in a normal life for like 8 years. Like, there are things you could have explored and chose not to do any of them. And it's just, who are the writers? How poorly were they being paid? How many times were you reading over the script before you put it into production? That's all I'm wondering. That's my only questions. Did you proofread the script? Or did you go, no grammatical errors? Cool, let's go with it. I'm sure it's great. Did you put the concepts for your episodes into ChatGPT and go from there? Did you ask ChatGPT for heist show episode ideas? It's so sad to go from the original series to Leverage Redemption and have that disappointment, especially after me going from The Librarians to Librarians Next Chapter and absolutely loving that first season. Like, they did so well for Librarians Next Chapter. I am looking forward to the day this year, sometime when the second season comes out. I am just waiting for it. But they failed. They failed with Leverage Redemption. It's just unfortunate because I do love the Redemption show. It does not have the same place in my heart that Librarians does. Librarians is just peak. But I still enjoyed it. I liked the found family aspect of it. I enjoyed the characters and how they developed throughout the show. I just had fun with it. And this one, they're just not the same, and they didn't do it well. It's like I didn't get that same excitement to continue watching it that I did watching the original series. They achieved that with Librarian's Next Chapter. Like, I was like, yes, I need to keep watching this. I need to find out what happens. And maybe part of that is because they brought in an entirely new cast of characters, and then any of the OG series are cameos more so than returning characters. And so you get a fresh start, and it's kind of just throwing you back into this world with new perspectives and new characters and that kind of thing. But that's not all of it. It's just more well written, and I enjoyed it. And they introduce the main enemy in the first episode. So you know what's coming, you know what they're going to have to fight, which is a whole thing in Librarians. Like, you know the main enemy from the get-go for each season. But you know exactly what they're going to be fighting with from the first episode, and so they can spend the rest of the season, however long or short it is, building on that. And means usually no twist villain, but to heck with the twist villain. Like, that doesn't not every series needs one, and usually villains they introduce in Leverage aren't twist villains anyway. You're just introducing them later, which doesn't need to happen. Sometimes it makes sense if it's a villain working from the shadows. I think there was one season in the OG series where it was like a background villain, and he was sending proxies or whatever else to kind of throw off and hide and whatever else. But that was like one season. Everything else we found out pretty quickly what they were up against. Or it didn't matter. They had a longer season, so when they introduced it a little later in the season, it was fine because they still had time to do that. But when you have a 10 to 13 episode season, you need to be introducing that villain almost right away so that you actually have time to go through the story and resolve the plot in a timely manner that doesn't feel rushed, that doesn't lead to horrible writing. Like, I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated with shows in today's era that are forced to be constrained to like 13 episodes max. Like, 13 episodes in this day and age is a long season. Remember the times when a 24 episode season was a short season? Yes, it is a time commitment, but if you're going to write something that requires a series, you better make it worth turning into a series. Otherwise, chop it down to 2 hours, 2.5 hours, make it a movie. Because at that point, it's at 13 episodes that are like half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. It is with almost half of them being filler episodes. It's not worth making a series then anymore. Strong opinions. I'm aware of this. I could go on for ages about the downhill spiral of writing in Hollywood nowadays. It's been a hot minute since I have gone to the theater to watch a movie and genuinely come out just... Anyway, those are my thoughts on Leverage Redemption. I could continue this rant for probably ages, but we're gonna stop there. feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Did you love this one? Were you as disappointed with it as I was? Anyway, those are my thoughts. Feel free to share yours. I'll continue the discussion in the comments for sure with you guys. I post videos on my audiobook channel on Thursdays and on this channel on Saturdays. I'll see you guys next time.